tutorial is about exploiting the way parallel folds move as you open and close the spread. Here's the example. As you open it, the flower opens, and you can see the way it works. There's a flower stem is stuck to the spine, and it comes up through a hollow tube. The hollow tube is then attached to this parallel fold, and as it closes, the spine fold goes down and the top of the parallel fold comes up, and as the whole thing opens, the spine fold comes up and the parallel fold goes down, and so the mechanism transfers that movement to the top of the flower. And it's quite a new mechanism, but there's 2 or 3 books that I'll show you that have it in it. So the first one I'd like to show you is Trail by David Pelham. It's a really beautiful book, this, all done in white, and the flower is here in the middle, and as it opens you see the flower open. And if you look at it end on, you can see there's the stalk that comes up through the middle, and all the parallel fold is extremely fancy, and then you've got more parallel folds on the top and counter folds. The whole thing is really quite spectacular. The second one is Leon Le Chameleon by Nina Kaniak, and in this case it's not a flower opening, it's a flamingo spreading its wings, and the whole structure is down here. It's pretty small, slightly disguised by these floating water lilies. That's a parallel fold. If you look at it end on, you can see there is a stalk comes up the middle, and that's the body of the flamingo is attached to that. As you open and close it, the bird opens and closes its wings. And the last one is Paper Blossoms by Ray Marshall. This is slightly different. The flowers aren't on such high stalks. All of them work on the same principle. There's a stalk up the middle, pushing up the middle of the flower, and then there's pieces on the outside pulling it down. All the flowers on this are built onto the strap, which is tutorial 9, that as the page goes flat, the pop-up goes fairly flat, and it creates these gullies off centre, and then these 2 flowers are built into that. Those gullies, these are working on the central gully. If you look at it end on, you can see there's a pillar, goes up the middle, raises the middle of the flower, and then there's pieces on the outer edges, pull down the outer edges of the flower. So now I'll just make one. So we start with a base sheet, well folded, creased really thoroughly, and then this is the piece that's going to be the stalk up the middle. I'm making it several layers thick. I've scored it already beforehand, so I can just fold it up, put glue in. I've also measured it. I've cut it so it's got flaps at the bottom, flaps at the top. So these are the ones that will stick it to the base. These are the ones that will stick it to the flower. And I've measured it, so I've put the crease where it's going to stick to the spine there, and you can see the top of the whole thing is going to come here. That's where the flower is going to stick on. So we'll start by just gluing it shut and gluing it to the spine. So we'll just fold this all shut. So here it is. This is the stalk that's going to go up the middle. It's got 2 flaps at the bottom. We'll just stick those to the spine. So that's stuck flush with the spine. Then this is the parallel fold that's going to go over the top. This is how it is. It's got a tab on each side, and it's got a hole in the middle for the stalk to go through. So just check that out. That's going to be like that. Fold these underneath. So I'll glue them both at the same time, but we'll follow that method of gluing where you stick one side down first and then let the other one find its natural position. There's one. I fold it all into the closed position, shut the base. So it knows where it wants to be. I'll just make the sleeve that goes over this stalk. So you need 2 score lines and just 1 cut line. Fold it well, make sure it folds neatly into a tube, and then at the bottom this is where it's going to attach to the parallel fold, so we'll just fold that there. And take one of those out, so it's just got 2 flaps at the bottom. Here's the sleeve. This is going to fit over the stalk. We need to measure how high this is coming up and slit it to that point. That comes up to there. Make sure it's flush against there and slit it down to here. I'll just cut another piece off so it's just left with 2 flaps. We'll cut that down to here. And split it up to here so there's 2 flaps. Then we can glue it shut. Not too much glue. And now sit this over the sleeve. I just might poke this into it to open it up a bit so it'll all work easily. There we are. We glue these 2 onto the parallel fold. There we go. Now these are going to fold back. This is the flower piece. We can glue this onto the flaps we've made at the top of the stalk. When this is flat, these will be coming up to join onto it. So you now need to add the creases where it's going to just fit onto the flower at the top. So we've got one there and one here. Just check that the height is alright. Bit by and large this, but you'll get the idea. And now we glue these onto the flower in its open position. So with that flat, that straight up, we just glue that on. And then we need to wait a minute for the glue to go off, because then we'll close the whole thing and it'll find, these 2 pieces need folds in them, so we'll close the whole thing and it'll find its natural place. Just before I do that, I'll just say you can learn more in this, my book, Pop-Up Design and Paper Mechanics, but there's nothing about this mechanism in it. There's all sorts of other interesting stuff. So with luck now, this glue has gone off enough. We can close it and make sure that these folds crease in the right place. There you go.